Alright, today we'll be talking about refurbishing your garden equipment such as shears and loppers and things like that.
Okay, so today we're going to talk about refurbishing your garden equipment, what you've had for years. Do you need to go and buy a new set? Not really. These are a pair of Wilkinson Sword shears that I've had for a long time, many years I've used these. You can see the varnish has started to peel off, so that needs redoing. Just got some, obviously you have to scrape the rest off. I still need to replace my heat gun for a new one, so I'll be using the mini blowtorch. You can use a blowtorch or a mini blowtorch just to bubble up the varnish, and then you can scrape it off with a chisel or something just fine. Then obviously you can sand that down as well if you want. We'll show the best way to sand a cylindrical object such as that a little bit later on. The paint isn't too bad on these Wilkinson Sword shears. This is actually fused in one, this Wilkinson Sword one, so you can't undo the two blades from each other. You're stuck with it like that, so you kind of have to open the blade and then sharpen the blades that way. You can't take one off and then go and run it along the side of the bench grinder. So you have to use either a rotary grinder, like in the Dremel type tool, or an angle grinder or something like that when you've got your fused shears like that. But you can still get them back in good condition again. Obviously it's picked up a bit of rust as well on the blade, so you need to, we'll get that off. These particular shears, I've only got one blade, and the bottom one is more of a squasher, so it basically squashes the twigs or the branches that you're trimming, I'll say on a bush or something like that, into the sharp top blade, and then the pressure and the sharpness of the top blade is what cuts it. Where a lot of them are like a pair of scissors and they've got two sharp edges, they can actually be harder to sharpen back up again and get into work. Okay, we just showed you shears, but you can do it to various other similar equipment like these edge cutters. You know, they've got the double sharpen blade, things like that. I've got those. I was going to chuck those out to the scrap man, but some better Wilkinson Sword ones here anyway, you can sharpen up. But you can apply it to anything like that, and loppers and things like that. See if we get the wire brush on the Dremel. Some of that rust on the blade. course, you could try some emery cloth on there as well if you want to really clean that up. Okay, once we've done that, we've got our blade looking as nice as we can possibly get it. With a bit you don't have to go too mad, but as much rust as you can get off is always good, because it will help protect the metal for the future. So like we said, this paint is not too bad on these Wilkinson Sword shears, but if you do need to paint in this kind of an area, any hammerite or metal paint like a car auto paint, or even a brake caliper lacquer, I did paint up and protected the my jack with some brake caliper lacquer that I found out. That obviously comes in a two-part thing with a hardener as well, so but it still works. It's still good on metal, but it's not too bad here. Now, while we've got the Dremel type tool out, I'm going to use that and a grinding wheel to sharpen up the blade. Always wear your glasses. You can use an angle grinder or something else similar. Just keep going until that's done. Okay, once we've done that and the blade's all nice and sharp, razor sharp, and you're happy with that, ready to be used again, we can turn our attention. Of course, you might want to oil that up a bit later on, but turn our attention to the handles now that are peeling, and use the blowtorch. Use a heat gun, obviously, like I said, for the same effect. But a blowtorch, as long as you're watching what you're doing, you should be fine. Now, if you do scorch the wood, remember it's being sanded. It's being sanded down a little bit afterwards anyway, so it's not that big a deal. You might want to lock that down just to make it a bit easier to do. That obviously saves us a lot of time in sanding. We can just concentrate on sanding the actual wood instead of sanding all the rest of this varnish off. So you'll need to do both handles and all around each handle as best you can before the sanding process. When it actually comes to sanding these parts here, cylindrical objects, you are actually better off with your sandpaper. Actually better off moving it around like that. As you can see, till you're happy with the finish on there. Once we've got the handles all sanded and we're happy with the finish, you can pick some varnish. This is just some cheap varnish that cost £1. Doesn't matter what colour you use. This is a clear varnish, I think, a yacht varnish they call it. I've also got some small tin of mahogany as well if I want to use that, but this will do for now. I've shook this up quite well. Might have to get a screwdriver. Okay, so we've got our varnish, tin of varnish, and a brush. Doesn't matter how big the brush is as long as you can get it on the doesn't have to be perfect. So this will be like a clear varnish, which will be like for the ship decking. So we'll coat the handle or both handles in that, then leave it to dry overnight, and that'll be I'll take it into your shed or garage and clamp the blades in a vise and let that dry up in the air. What that new layer of varnish actually does is help protect the wood, obviously. Okay, now you can leave that to dry and check the results. Check the results come the morning. Okay, we can see that they are good to go once all the varnish is dried. You can see a real nice job being done there on the handles, the blades. Just give it a little nice and sharp. All that's left to do is a little bit of an oil. Give it a little bit of an oil. And it's good to go.
So that took us as little time as it did to make the actual video, to refurbish that, give or take, leaving the varnish to dry overnight.